On to the big story we're tracking this evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today on Explosive Exclusive, we shift our focus to the mega 50 crore cash haul in Kolkata. Now remember, yesterday after overnight counting, piles of cash were retrieved from Arpita Mukherjee's Belgaria apartment. Now the total of this amounted to 27.9 crore rupees. Before this, remember, the agencies recovered more than 21 crore rupees in cash along with jewellery and foreign currency from another flat from South Kolkata's Toliganj neighbourhood. If you thought that was it, you're possibly wrong. But here's what happened today. The same Arpita Mukherjee, while being taken for a medical examination this morning, was seen bursting into tears while refusing to get out of the car. She cried, flapped her arms, could be seen jostling with security officials who wanted her to get out. It was then that the security personnel had to pull her to take her to the hospital for examination. But what explains this emotional breakdown outside the hospital? That's the question, because has Arpita finally realized that all her excuses have failed? ED sources, remember, have told your channel that 3 of her bank accounts have been frozen now, and collectively they contain over 2 crore rupees. Now, given that there is a mountain of cash that has been recovered from properties belonging to her, more sensational details of her luxury cars have also emerged. As per sources in the Enforcement Directorate, these cars went missing from her Diamond City flat complex. These cars are believed to have gone missing right after Arpita's arrest. The Enforcement Directorate officials suspect these cars too had huge cash stacked in them. What you see on your screens, in fact, are the details of the number plate of each of these cars, as has been shared by sources in the Enforcement Directorate. Now, of these 4 cars, the white Mercedes has been seized by the Enforcement Directorate officials so far, and they are searching for the remaining 3 by closely examining CCTV footages in and around the area. So the investigation in the cash haul is widening. It is not limited to Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee anymore. Times now has access details of what was found in the black book. Yes, that black diary we've been talking about since the last couple of days. More details coming in on what has been accessed of that diary. ED sources have told your channel that 5 people have been named in that very diary. 4 women and 1 officer are allegedly named in it, and they're going to be on ED's radar next. Thereafter, Times Now also spoke to Arpita's mother. So that's another sensational detail coming in, an exclusive at Times Now, wherein we travelled to Bulgaria, spoke to the family of Arpita Mukherjee. Remember, this is the same area, not the same flat, but the same area where tons of cash was recovered. But when Times Now spoke to Arpita's mother, she said these properties were not hers. She even confirmed, though, meeting Partha Chatterjee back in 2019. Listen in.
সেটার সঙ্গে আমারও কি আছে, অর্পিতারই কি আছে। অর্পিতা যে টাকা পয়সার ব্যাপারে তো বলেছে, এবার জায়গা টাকার ব্যাপারে গুলো হবে, ফ্ল্যাট হোক, জমি হোক, জায়গা হোক, সে তো খবরে তো শুনছি। এগুলোর একটা হবে, কার সঠিক জিনিস, কার বেঠিক জিনিস, কার বেআইনি জিনিস, কার নামে বেনামে কি হয়ে আছে না হয়েছে। পার্থবাবু একবার আমাদের বাড়ি এসেছিলেন, এখানে মানে কি ওই মুখটাতে এসেছেন, বললেন মানে ওই ভৈরব গাঙ্গুলি কলেজেতে একটা অনুষ্ঠান হয়েছিল। আচ্ছা, অনুষ্ঠান হয়েছিল, একটা পয়সা এর মধ্যে তো কিছু না, এর মধ্যে তো একটা পয়সাও নেই। আসলো ঘন্টা 2 বছর। আচ্ছা, একবার এসেছি, একবার এসেছি, 5 লাখ একবার এসেছিল, 19 সালে, হ্যাঁ 20 সালে, আচ্ছা 2019
Nawab Abdul Latif Street is where we are coming to you from right now, which is in Dewanpada. Pada means a locality in Bangla. Dewanpada in Belgaria. This is a street, a by-lane in Belgaria, where Arpita Mukherjee grew up, lived her initial years. Is the street, if I can show you, a small by-lane in Belgaria in West Bengal. She grew up here, and as we have learnt from her neighbors, from people around the area, she went to school in a nearby place just around the corner, but in 6th standard she left this area. What we have learned is that she never really had an academic bent of mind, but from a very early age, she had harbored dreams and ambitions of entering the fashion industry. And is it the case now that that ambition has led her into trouble with what we have seen over the last few days in terms of the massive stash of money that has been recovered by the Enforcement Directorate at various flats of Arpita Mukherjee.
Let me now go across to my colleagues Nilashish and Tamal joining us live on this broadcast. Nilashish, to you first, because we just played out that ground report. Now, that is where Arpita Mukherjee's mother stays. What is it that you made of what she said? You know, this is very, very close to the area where, you know, crores of money was also recovered very recently. But what is it that she said about, you know, her links to Partha Chatterjee? I remember she mentioned something about having seen Partha Chatterjee back in 2019.
Well, yes, absolutely. When we spoke to Arpita Mukherjee's mother, as well as other neighbors in that area, they all seem to collectively remember having seen Partha Chatterjee once. They couldn't remember whether it was 2019, 2018 or around that time, but he had come outside their house at one point in time, and they said there was a function that he had come to attend in terms of a school that was nearby. Now, as far as the area which you just saw we visited, that area, of course, is a by-lane in an area which is slightly off the main Kolkata region. Now, Belgoria, as you saw, that is in Diwanpada. Now, where her house is, you could see the condition. It was a run-down house, a very dilapidated house, clearly showing that she comes from humble beginnings. But both her parents were, in fact, employed people. One of them was a government employee as well, as we've learned. But the people around there say that she has always been quite aloof as far as her demeanor, as far as her interactions with people around that area are concerned. In fact, I spoke to someone who was the father of her classmate, of Arpita Mukherjee's classmate, and he also said that she was never really inclined towards studies. She used to talk about going into the entertainment industry, and the mother also confirmed that since her college days she has been modeling. But as far as this entire scam is concerned, in terms of the developments are concerned, the mother did alienate herself from it. She distanced herself from it, saying that my daughter comes to visit me every second, third week. She comes to check on my health, whether I've taken medication, but I do not know. When Times Now asked whether she knew how Arpita Mukherjee in fact got involved, met with Partha Chatterjee, she said she had no idea. She said, these things are not told to me, these were never told to me. I also got to know from the news. But when we asked whether any money had been put in to that house that we went to, you could clearly see it was a rundown house. It had been neglected. So the mother says that I don't even know if that money is actually rightfully hers, whether the properties are rightfully hers or not. So what we learned is that she comes once in a while for a couple of hours and then goes back. Now the house, the flat from where approximately 27 crores in cash was recovered is barely about 2 kilometers away from where we were, which is the mother's house, the ancestral property. Now the other flat in the Club Town house in Belgoria itself, now that is where the money was recovered, and that is where we learned that Arpita Mukherjee used to come at certain intervals as well. And that is where the cash and gold was in fact recovered from. Back to you.
Okay, all right. So Arpita Mukherjee, you know, led to Partha Chatterjee. The scam forced the TMC to finally act yesterday, and he was sacked. But the investigation now is just the tip of the iceberg. Nilashish, thank you for that.